Hi, this is Han. I'm planning to record my demonstration. So, based on my report, I'm planning to create a line graph that is superimposed on top of events, and that line graph will represent the aggregate availability of the participants. And it will show each participant's availability as well, given ability to drill in to see who will be available and who will not be available. To start, I want to explain the data that I'm using. It's artificially generated 6 half-hour blocks starting at 3 p.m. ending at 6 p.m. So from 1500 ending at 1800. There are 3 participants currently in the data set. Once again, artificially generated, and the data from those participants would be based on their availability, characterized by low, medium, high. And of course, they can have none, in other words, no event in their calendar, and that's assume that they're available. And more details in my report. Continuing, I want to show the functionality of this demonstration. I built 3 functions, and when I connected Google, the data would be streamlined, so there won't be any artificial data generated, because first of all, once I connect Google, all the events are XML based, and there will be data on the time, availability, and even extended property that I could work with. To start, I will explain the first function that I created. The first function is basically showing the aggregate data of availability of 3 participants. In other words, it will be a black line showing the availability of the aggregate priority of all 3 participants, meaning that are they available or unavailable. And based on my report, it is an additive process. So a low would be added to a low, would be added to high, given that those 3 participants have that kind of priority, and then it's actually divided by 3. In other words, I'm normalizing it based on the number of participants. It'll be a lot clearer once I demonstrate it on visualize graph. So just to run one function 1 at the bottom popping up. Okay, see here. So here's the graph. Based on my report, it's a line graph, as I said, and the y-axis, which will be inverted once I connect Google, so instead of a horizontal demonstrate here, it would be a vertical demonstrated layout. And as you can see, it shows aggregate availability of the 3 participants. Overall, it seems that the middle time period is the best time for scheduling a particular event, because that's the lowest of the graph, which represent higher probability of availability. Now, this is quite simple, and that's the intent of the demonstration and the project itself, because looking through current visualization, some are not intuitive, some are quite complex, and based on that analysis, I want to build something simple. And as you can see, it's quite easy for someone to follow this line and make a quick assessment of whether someone's available or not through identifying the lowest part of the graph, and the lowest part means higher probability that overall participants will be available. Now let's close this, and going along, there will be a function of adding participants, because first of all, you have 3. It is possible that you want to schedule more than 3 people, so there's ability now for you to add another participant and have their availability aggregate into that line graph that I've shown before. So let's take a look here. Pressing 2. Okay, so as you can see, it prints out 3 participant right now, and we need new participant availability. Those are over 4 options for 6 time slots. Once again, there are 6 half-hour time slots. Right now, to demonstrate my prototype, we need to enter the availability, but once again, Google will have that as an XML file, and we can connect the availability based on the timestamps for each entry. So let's randomly enter some availability. So let's say low, low, and the person after that will have high. In other words, they will be unavailable for the next 2 hours. Okay, so it's being recorded back into the matrix. There are 4 participants, which is correct because we added another one. Instead of reprinting the first graph that we have, which is the aggregate, we could print a second graph which shows the aggregate plus the 4 participants. So 4, excuse me, it's actually 3. 4 is exit. Alright, 4, and has to show, okay, the aggregate graph is now showing the black line, which is the aggregate of the 4 participants. There are blue, light blue, green, and red line representing the 4 participants. And as you can see, the black line has increased right here from before. And that makes sense because the high priority has pushed the aggregate graph up, meaning that there are a higher weight on the overall graph showing there. To repeat myself, basically what it's showing is that, okay, this graph has moved up, and since it has moved up, it's saying, okay, that time period which was available before isn't as available now because adding the 4th participant, which is busy during that time. And based on additive process of line graphs, that's a good way of showing, okay, in aggregate there are unavailability during this time now. And it shows you that maybe the scheduling of the event with the 4 participant would be better at the earlier time period. Now, this camera is the best I can offer currently to show my demonstration, but if you look closely, this red line is 1 participant, this blue line is another. These 2 participants will most likely miss out on the middle time period. A person could then look, okay, blue is available. If that person is important and a major participant of this event, in other words, that person needs to be showing up, then as you can see, blue is the best for the first half. And finally, green is quite available for most of the period because right here, I believe it's mainly all low for their priority. So that's my demonstrations of my prototype so far. There is an hourglass here because a bug is currently in place in my software which I can't find that is creating this error. So I need to go back and fix that, and hopefully I'll get this connected to Google in a short period of time. Feel free to email me any questions, and I'm glad to answer them. Yes. So have a good day, Lynn,